If so, as soon as I click that, it's going to start letting people in. You ready?
For all of us?
Yep.
We're all, yeah,
It
okay.
it
We're all
opens the
together in
floodgates.
this.
Okay.
You ready?
We're all in this together.
Oh, now, is there a sing-along as part of this? I really hope so.
Yes.
I
Let's get
prepared
this
my
started.
piece. I prepared my piece.
And going.
I'm kidding. I'm in trouble.
You are trouble.
No, I am trouble personified.
All right. People have now just have to click and they can start coming in.
Okay. Let me know when you do that.
So, Tish, if you open the participants panel, you should be able to see the attendees list.
Oh, yes.
And it is slowly populating.
Still got 4 minutes according to my watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they can see us.
Can you hear me? Hello,
And hear
test.
us.
Yep. Henry, I can hear you.
Hi, Henry.
Hi.
So, Tish, just let me know when you want me to flip questions or anything.
For it. So, hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We'll be starting at 5:33. So just get settled in, grab your water, grab your coffee, your tea, whatever you need. Ooh, I see hearts. I love emojis. You guys are awesome.
Oh, I got to go grab my coffee.
That is
And
very
while-
important, yes.
Yeah.
Get that coffee.
I've got my my tea, but you can't see me.
Hot or cold?
Hot.
Oh,
Always.
wow.
Tish likes iced tea. I like hot tea.
I like both, but it depends on the weather. Today would not be a hot tea day.
Oh, see, I'm always a hot tea day.
I see Nicholas is here. Did you want to put him in position?
I'm moving him right now. There you go.
And guys, while we wait, feel free to post in the chat what's something you love to do in the summer.
Ah, cool.
We would love to know. Hey, Charlie.
We had Tim McKenzie a few minutes ago.
Cool.
Guys, what's something you love to do in the summer?
Let's see. I really do need a better place. Here,
Charlie, I know your answer. It's kite flying.
That's not. We're just gonna overlap faces over here.
Tomatoes. Yeah. And sharing with friends. Can we get on that list?
Yes, I didn't know you like. Anyone who asks will get.
I love tomatoes.
Hey, taking notes.
Yes. Really going to neighborhood events and eating desserts.
Amen to that.
What is an Emily Ramos dessert?
They're really, I kind of eat anything that's sweet. Unless they try to do something really smart and like put vegetables and add sweetness to it, then that's kind of like that defeats the purpose.
So what's your take on carrot cake?
Oh, I actually don't like carrot cake. I think that is a trick.
All right, what about banana bread?
I actually don't like banana bread either, but I do like bananas. I just don't like it in bread form.
Banana bread tastes like stale bananas to me, usually because it's made with stale bananas. How about zucchini bread?
Jason. My carrot cake has converted many non-believers. I think we need to try it.
Yes,
Raisins or not, Jason?
Yes, I'll make it, and you guys can all come visit once to the States. We'll party.
If there are raisins in it, I'm not touching it.
No
but
raisins. Nope.
I will try it.
Carrots. Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
Ironically, also no carrots.
No 2 pounds.
Right, Abby. Her favorite summer thing is riding her bike down the bay.
Nice.
Awesome. Stevens Creek.
I like that you indicate that the bay is down.
Well,
I'll
gravitationally it is.
This was a common thing in Arizona between Tucson and Phoenix. Is do you go up to Tucson or down to Tucson?
From Phoenix?
Uh-huh.
You go down.
Up to Tucson.
Huh.
Well, because it is way higher in elevation.
Oh, okay. No,
What a
not
trick.
down on a map. But The real question is, do you ride your bike up or down anywhere in Arizona in the summer?
No, absolutely not. It's too hot.
I was gonna say,
Unsafe.
tires will melt into the ground.
All right, guys. Next question for our audience to post in the chat. Do you prefer sweet or salty? Sweet or salty?
Although you don't have to compromise. Everything is sweet, salty these days.
True. Why choose?
Does anyone here put salt on your watermelon?
I do.
Never tried it.
I put salt on strawberries.
Really?
hmm
I would try that.
I actually didn't know that people don't normally do that. Everyone in my family does. And so when I first did it like publicly, everyone was like, Emily, that's not sugar. And I was like, I know.
I'm gonna try that. That sounds intriguing.
Well, hi,
IdaRose,
Jose.
I just saw a tail in front of your face. Oh my.
Yes, this is my 16 and about half-year-old cat who definitely wants some attention.
Oh, definitely. You got my winning vote now.
Thank you. This is Twist, and he is
Great.
definitely getting a little bit older, but he still loves his people, and he's very curious why you're not all here paying attention to him. But you are, so he just doesn't understand the Zoom thing.
I need to get him logged in as a panelist.
I don't know if he has anything to say other than "Ow, ow."
We're missing Pat only, right?
I'm waiting on that. Ooh.
I jumped to the question that's relevant to the discussion.
Oh, dogs, cats, or houseplants? You guys-
Again, why can't you have all?
Oh, because I want to start a war.
Oh, Pat's link
Okay.
isn't working.
Oh,
That's what they are all good things.
there should
Yeah,
Pat, you should have an
love.
email inviting you to be a panelist.
Hey, Alex, how do we end up with these white screens in the background?
It automatically tries to remove your backdrop
And why is that?
so that it's immersive.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, it's not going to let you put weird things on our background, is it?
Well, this is the weird background. I think I could actually do that. I'd have to check the Zoom settings.
IdaRose isn't blacked out with the rest of us. You must have a nice
Jose, you're
background.
muted.
Pat,
At
let me
least
send
it's
you.
not Jeopardy like the forum that we did before for the appointment.
Mm. Don't give anybody any ideas.
Let me send.
I'm loving
There
this
she is.
one.
Oh, there's Pat.
There's Pat. Hi, Pat.
Pat's here.
Even
Well, I
when
think we
we
just
all
lost
wear
Jose.
psychedelic glasses.
Hi.
Response.
Yeah, for some reason, I was in the chat as Abby.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
All right.
so Jose was here, but he just got off. I think he was having trouble unmuting.
Okay, well, when he jumps back in, I will put him back in the thing.
Cool.
Okay.
Select to join.
You can see my
You gotta-
background, right?
Yeah, yours is not isn't canceling out.
A lot. See, there we go. A lot of things on Chromebook and Zoom are weird. Like I can't put a different background on most of the time if I wanted to.
Devin,
So
are
you
you
have-
also on a Chromebook?
You have to see my stuff.
Yeah. Okay, and can all the panelists one at a time just say something?
Hi, everybody. This is Pat.
Test, test, test. Hello.
What's your name?
Oh, my name is Nicholas. Hi, everyone.
Okay. Hi, Nicholas.
Well, I was hoping everybody, when they were talking about getting their cup of tea, that they would have their Baskin Robbins ice cream sitting in front of them. So, that was a wild thought I just had coming out of the blue. So,
I was expecting
Sound
some
check.
delivered to my door.
Me too, Pat. That was just not thinking of John.
If I had known, I would have announced that we were having this event catered virtually.
That never worked during the pandemic very well.
Okay, Jose, Erik, Devin, Chris.
Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yep.
Perfect.
All right. So that gives us everyone.
I think we need to hear from Devon, Chris, and Jose because I haven't heard anything.
I'm here.
Okay, Chris, yes. Devon, Jose. Nope, Devon, I still can't hear you.
Oh no.
Jose? Try saying something. Can you hear us?
Maybe it's because he has headphones on. Do you think?
I don't know.
I know he's been trying to connect and I can see his face, but he seems to not be able to get audio. And I'm wondering if it's not the headphones.
All right, Devon, I'll try again. You might need to change your audio input device.
Down the lower left-hand corner.
Did we get Chris?
Yes.
Okay, and Emily's here and IdaRose and Erik.
We better
too.
we better get going. We're going to lose folks.
All right. Well,
Can Devon try calling in so we can have her audio on her phone and her face on here if she can't get it to work quickly?
There he is.
okay, we got
Say,
two Jose's.
And Jose is popping back in.
yeah.
Twice.
Yeah, there's an issue here on my end.
Okay.
I'm so sorry about that. Let's
I
see.
can now hear you.
He can hear you
Okay.
now.
All right.
Can you boot the other Jose off?
Yeah.
Let's see. I gotta figure out which one's which.
Okay.
And then we got a new Devon.
Thanks for being with us, everyone. We'll get started in just a second once we get everybody on board.
Okay.
Oh, no interlopers, only the real Jose.
We have one candidate left. Devon, fingers crossed.
How many participants do we have? Do we know?
So far we got 41 attendees.
That's terrific.
Okay, Devon, let's try again. Sing a song.
No.
Nope. Still not working.
Devon, if you click on the bottom left corner where it has mute or talk, you should be able to click on the arrow next to it and click select a microphone. Try changing the microphone, possibly.
Or audio?
Just click the audio button down the lower left.
No, she's not muted. It would show the mute. Well, that's
She either has
unfortunate.
wrong audio input or something is wrong with her computer, so she should reboot or try to dial in one or the other.
Okay.
You know, we need to get going because
Yep.
we're going to lose people.
Here, let's.
Yeah. Devon, did you try dialing in with your phone yet? Nod.
I will send. Let's see.
You know, it's too bad, but we have to get going.
Yeah, maybe what we can do is get started and then have Devon go last for the first question and just
Devon, if you she gone. Okay. Oh.
we'll just give her a chance to.
Yeah.
Okay. When Devon calls in, I will. Hopefully, she'll raise her hand, and then I can promote her.
Awesome.
But let's get started.
All right. Go ahead, Alex.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first City Council Candidate Forum of 2024, hosted by the Mountain View Mobile Home Alliance. There you go. We're a group of residents representing all 6 mobile home parks in Mountain View, but you're not here about us. You're here to hear about your candidates. Today, we're going to hear from 9 City Council candidates. As we know, City Council members are responsible for the city's budget, so today we're going to put those skills to the test by giving them a time budget. Each candidate will have a total of 8 minutes that they can use however they see fit. Whenever they start answering a question, the clock will start running. For each question, the candidate order will be randomized. To accommodate our Millennial and Gen Z audience members who only watch shows with closed caption on, the question will be on screen. And then Maria Marquine is going to help out with Spanish interpretation. She'll be providing the instructions for our Spanish-speaking audience now.
And speaking of that, can everybody please speak slowly so that Maria can translate?
Don't do that. Alex is doing, please, okay? Be kind. Ok, buenas tardes, bienvenidos a todos. Es el primer foro de candidatos del 2024. Está auspiciado por la coalición o la alianza de casas móviles de la ciudad de Mountain View. Somos un grupo de residentes representando a 6 unidades móviles, de parques móviles. Estamos aquí para escuchar a los 9 candidatos. Cada candidato tendrá un total de 8 minutos con 26 segundos total y ellos podrán usarlo como ellos quieran. El primero que cuando empiecen a hablar, el reloj empezará a caminar. Go ahead.
Oh, wait, are you ready for me to turn on the interpretation?
Yeah, yes.
All
Please.
right. The interpretation room should now be open, so hopefully any Spanish-speaking individuals can switch over to the Spanish channel to hear Maria. All right, candidates, we have 8 questions total. We have a lot of candidates and only 90 minutes thus now, so we recommend keeping your answers to around a minute each. The screen will always show who the next person is when your time is up. It will be up for the forum. Audience, if you have specific questions, please add them in the chat. If we have time, we'll ask them later on. If we don't get to them today, we'll share them with candidates so they can follow up after the meeting. And given that we're short on time, let's jump into introductions.
Do I start now?
Yes, you do.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm happy to be here and seeking your support for my run for city council. We have a very, very big and accomplished field for you to choose from. I hope I can use this time to earn your support, answer any questions that you have. I was fortunate enough to be appointed to the city council last year when a vacancy occurred when my predecessor got elected to a higher office. I fundamentally focus on making Mountain View a home for all and ensuring that people don't get displaced from their homes and that people feel safe in their homes and feel that they can thrive and be part of the community. So I thank you all for your time. I'm excited for this fun format.
All right, on to Jose.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Thank you for hosting. First of all, I don't know how to feel right now because of what happened today with the tragedy and the person who lost their life in the fire, and I'm sorry about that. And we've prayed for the person and the family, and thank you for continuing on with the forum. And having said that, I'm happy to be here with a heavy heart, but I'm happy to be here. And I'm all about diversity, representation, and speaking up. I've been a former member of the Mountain View School District Board of Trustees, current vice chair of the Environmental Planning Commission, and I'm all about being able to make a difference in the community, and especially to speak up for underrepresented neighborhoods like myself that I'm a part of here in the Latham and California Street Apartments community. Happy to be here to answer any of your questions, and looking forward to the event. Thank you.
All right,
Hi,
Nicholas.
everyone. My name is Nicholas Hargis. I live in the Ranksdorf Park neighborhood, and I really appreciate the Mobile Home Alliance for bringing us together today. I feel very close to mobile homes because my dad lived his first 2 years in a mobile home. And when I look at the mobile home community at Mountain View, it really is the best of our city. It's an incredibly diverse group with ages, ethnicities, and backgrounds that make us stronger. And if there is a guiding principle for my campaign, it's well-being. I want to be part of a city in which neighbors look after one another and care about each other's success. That means fighting the high cost of living, building a strong local economy, focusing on public safety, and taking on climate change. I look forward to today's conversation.
everyone. I'm Chris Clark. I've lived in Mountain View for about 17 years now in several different neighborhoods as both a renter and a first-time homeowner. I served Mountain View for nearly 15 of those 17 years through a combination of time on the Human Relations Commission, the Environmental Planning Commission, and the City Council. I've served for 8 years on the council from 2013 to 2021, and I'm now back on the Planning Commission and seeking another term on council. I'm running because we'll lose 2 long-serving council members this cycle and 3 more in 2026. And I believe our community thrives when we have a healthy mix of both experienced council members and new blood as well. And I think I bring some of that experience to the table. I've missed being involved in the council, and I'm able to dedicate the time necessarily to serve on it again. And I aim to continue the progress that we've made as a community over the last decade on environmental sustainability, infrastructure, and growing our community sustainably. I look forward to your questions and earning your support.
Hi, everyone. I'm Pat Showalter. And first, I would like to offer my condolences to the Moffett Mobile Home Park. So sad to have lost a member of your community today. So I'm sorry for your community's loss. But thank you for having us tonight. I think that getting everybody together and being able to listen to us all at the same time is really, really valuable as a voter. So I hope looks like 66 participants now enjoy what they hear. Right now, I'm the mayor, and I've served on the city council for 8 years. I've been a champion for housing, sustainability, and equity. I've been a friend of the mobile home community by supporting the ordinance to provide mobile home rent control. I have a reputation for treating people with respect and building coalition, listening to residents. I know that keeping our communities safe and providing excellent city services is crucial. I'm the only civil engineer on council or running, and this technical expertise gives me a unique ability to analyze infrastructure issues and understand climate change better. While I've been on council, I've championed raising the minimum wage to $18.75, adding 4,000 housing units, 651 of them affordable, adding miles and miles of bike lanes, and opening 9 new parks. I'm looking forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight with us. My name is Erik Poicon, and I'm running for council because of my deep commitment to building a stronger and more inclusive Mountain View. After losing my mother of 4, a single mother of 4 to breast cancer in 2017, and seeing her resilience and compassion shine, despite facing housing and food insecurities, she motivated me to better my community and advocate for those who are often overlooked. Her battle really ignited in me the passion in ensuring that everyone has the access and support to the resources they need. I've been a community organizer, I've been an outreach specialist, and I'm a current union member, and I've witnessed firsthand the challenges many of our communities face. As your next council member, I hope to bridge across this divide, ensuring that everyone, despite their background or their income level, have a fair shot at a decent life here. My campaign is really about bringing compassionate leadership to the dais with a focus on equitable policies to address the diverse needs of our community, whether that's advocating for affordable housing, protecting renters' rights, creating green spaces, or even ensuring that our workers are well taken care of. I'm committed to making sure that Mountain View is a place that everyone can thrive. Thank you.
I'm IdaRose Sylvester, a 25-year resident of Mountain View, and I'm honored to be here tonight. I'd like to give huge thanks to MVMHA for hosting this special event and for all the work you do to organize, educate, and empower the 1,100 plus families you serve. And again, condolences to your community tonight. This makes this forum all the more difficult, but all the more powerful. I believe in our ambitious, innovative city with its small town heart, its diverse, compassionate community, vibrant history, and commitment to solving big issues. And I want to give back to serve you on our city council. I have the right experience for the job. I've been on 2 advisory bodies, the Human Relations Commission for 6 years, and the Environmental Sustainability Task Force before that. I'm a City of Mountain View mediator, and I've served on boards of several organizations focused on taking care of our community. in community services, mental health, smart planning, history, and environmental sustainability. I am also a neighborhood leader and community organizer. My nonprofit Appetite for Good saved dozens of local restaurants while feeding hundreds of our families during the pandemic. I wrote the #1 recommendation on the Environmental Sustainability Task Force that gave us the resources we need to make a real impact on climate change. And I've built an organization to unite thousands of our community members to stand up for the protection of our most vulnerable population. When I see problems, I create solutions to take care of our community. I have the experience leadership we need, a proven track record for caring for the people of the city, and new perspective to bring innovative solutions to creating the future we deserve. And I very much look forward to this conversation. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for taking the time to come out tonight. I'm John McAlister. I've been sort of on hiatus for a few years, but like Chris, I see a need of proven experience and leadership, and I figured time to come out and see what I could do. As someone who's been a part of this community for a long time, 67 years, that's a pretty long time, I'm really glad to be here with you. I know that many of us, Mountain View isn't just a place we live, it's home. And like you, I've seen how much our city has grown and changed over the years. I raised my family here. I run successful businesses here. I'm the only true business owner running for council and spent several years on our cities in various cities capacities as city council members, mayor, vice mayor, on the planning commission for 5 years. As a founding member of Silicon Valley Clean Energy was my initiative to get Mountain View municipality to be the first one's carbon free. And I've also been on VTAs. And so with that, it gives me a great experience. My experience has given me a deep understanding of our community needs, and I'm committed to finding the best solutions for all of us. While some of the changes that have been good, I know it's also brought real challenges, especially when it comes to the quality of life we all care so much about. And specifically Santiago Village, the concerns about sea level rising. It's got to be a big concern for them. You've worked hard to make this place what it is, and you deserve to enjoy your home without worrying about things like rising costs, safety, or whether the services you rely on will be there tomorrow. These aren't just issues on a checklist. They're the things that affect your day-to-day life, and I take them seriously. When I decided to run for office again, it was because I believe that Mountain View should be a place where everyone can live with dignity and peace of mind. My priorities include creating vibrant neighborhoods, ensuring housing options for all, and mobile homes is one of those options that is affordable. Maintaining a strong public safety system, keeping our small businesses thriving, and make sure, and since there's a large number of seniors, and I'm one of them, not in the city, and that's the fastest growing demographics, especially out in Santiago, there's a lot of seniors. We got to make sure that services are available to people in outer parts of the city or available that they can come in. But at the heart of everything I do is a commitment to listen to you, because I believe the best ideas come from the people who live here day in and day out. We're all in this together, and I'm here to make sure your voice is heard. Let's work side by side to keep Mountain View the kind of place where we can all feel proud to live. Thanks again for having me, and I'm looking forward to hearing from more of you tonight. Again, I have proven leadership and great experience, so thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Devon Conley, and I am the current president of the Mountain View Wisdom School Board. I'm also an 18-year resident of Mountain View. I apologize, you might hear my 19-month-old in the background. It is bedtime. Things are just kind of rolling up. But I'd like to thank the Mobile Housing Alliance for putting on this forum tonight. It's a wonderful way for our community to be more informed about the different candidates' views on our future. And I am running for city council because I believe that family-friendly city planning is good for everyone in our community, not just children and families. I've been on our school board for 6 years, but before that, I served on our Parks and Recreation Commission, and I also was a classroom teacher here in Mountain View. I have a master's in city planning from UC Berkeley and a degree in architecture from Yale. So I've always sat at this intersection in my career between working directly with children and families and combining that with city policy. I would be honored to serve you on city council, and I look forward to answering your questions tonight.
All right, thank you, everyone. A reminder, please speak slowly for the interpreters. We got a request in the chat. Spanish is a less dense language than English. But I'm going to throw to Jason for our first real question.
Great, thanks, Alex. I am Jason Clark, resident of Sunset Estates Mobile Home Park. My question is about the housing element. Mountain View finally enacted a compliant housing element. We've had several instances of programs being narrowly interpreted by staff to the objection of many of the stakeholders and also HCD. The MVMHA and other community organizations are concerned about this because we advocated for programs in the housing element under item 3.2. These include studying a reduction in the allowed rent increase for mobile homes, a community ownership action plan that would allow residents to take charge of their own property in the event that current owners chose to exit the business, and robust enforcement of the Community Stabilization and Fair Rent Act and Mobile Home Rent Stabilization Ordinance. How can we achieve the goals of the housing elements in a way that benefits both the current and future residents of Mountain View? Alex, if you could shuffle the candidates for me, that would be great. Okay, and Pat, if you could go first, what are your thoughts on the housing element?
It was quite a battle, wasn't it? We went through a number of steps, and we had a tremendous amount of assistance from the community, from the NIMBYs, from the LMV Housing, from Mountain View Housing Justice, from the Mobile Home Alliance, and I really appreciate all of the assistance that we were given. Because the housing element process kind of switched this cycle, the requirements were really much more stringent than they were before, and it took quite a while to get that through everyone's understanding so that we went forward with the seriousness that it required. And so I was one of the people who kept bringing up that this was a different cycle, but it did take a while to get that. That said, I'm really committed to implementing that plan as well as we possibly can. And that certainly does mean a very careful investigation of how we can change the mobile home ordinance to be more protective. We started at a certain place with the mobile home ordinance, and this is an opportunity to look at it another time and get the issue with the AGA straightened out. So that's one thing I think is really relevant to the Mobile Home Alliance. I think another thing is there's just a whole laundry list of things that we call barriers to housing. And we really need to look at them individually and as a group to see how they all work together. One of the ones I'm committed to looking at is how do we fund parks? I think we all agree that parks are an integral part of our community. They're very, very important to our quality of life. But the park fees that we've been collecting from development until recently, that's probably not the way we want to continue in the future completely. We'll always want to have park fees, but I think we're going to have to find some other sources of funding for parks. So those are two things. I'll be interested to hear what other people have to say.
Yeah, thank you, Pat. Nicholas, could you share your thoughts?
This is a great question and a very important topic. As a senior field representative for Congresswoman Anna Eshoo, I've been covering Mountain View issues for the last 4.5 years, and I've been listening in on city council meetings where the housing element was discussed. I greatly appreciate the advocacy from the community to ensure that we're putting in place the programs that are going to prepare us for the next generation of housing in Mountain View. I think that at the end of the day, it's up to the city council to hold city staff accountable. And if we're not meeting our goals, or if we're not meeting the spirit of our housing element programs, we need a city council that speaks up on behalf of residents. I'm strongly in favor of the community opportunity to purchase, and I would welcome an assessment of how we can lower the allowable rent increase, particularly for vulnerable residents.
Yep. Thank you, Nicholas. Emily, your thoughts?
Thank you so much. Housing element has been kind of my life for like the past 3 years. In my day job, I work at SB at Home as the Preservation and Protection Associate, where I work on tenant protections and policies to help the preservation of affordable housing throughout the Santa Clara County. And I had an opportunity to take a look at not only our own housing element and work on our housing element, but also take a look at throughout the county. And how far ahead Mountain View is something to be incredibly proud of, because the purpose of the housing element is to identify the housing needs of the community. And then those housing needs of the community, we have to come together and figure out how do we solve those housing needs of the community. This is along with some requirements that are set by the state, things like our RENA goals, how are we going to get the housing built? How are we going to do something called affirmatively furthering fair housing? How are we essentially preventing displacement? How are we not creating an exclusionary enclaves of our city? And so I'm very proud of the work that was done with the housing element, is why Mountain View became the only city in Santa Clara County to receive the pro housing designation from the state. I'm so proud of the community stepping in and demanding that their housing needs are heard and our city is held accountable for them. So now we get to the next step. We fought for a really strong housing element. Now we need to fight for making sure that's the spirit and the letter of that housing element. We fight to make sure that our housing needs are met in our city, especially those residents who are most impacted by this housing crisis. So I'm excited with the housing element and several programs like a community ownership action plan, a displaced tenant preference. We have they continue on with the displacement response strategy. And what do we do when our older rent controlled units are redeveloped? Because there will come a time when those buildings are old enough to need redevelopment or rehabilitation. How do we plan for that? How do we ensure that voices are heard in order to make that happen? When we passed our housing element, one of the first things that HCD noticed that wasn't in any other city before our city did it is that we had our community groups send in letters of support for the housing element. It was a very fun thing where first they sent letters of not support because we pushed the city to get to meet the needs of our community. And then once we managed to do that, then we sent in letters of support to prove that this is a housing element that is from the community and for the community. So I'm quite excited about it.
All right. Thank you, Emily. Jose, can you share?
Yeah, sure. No, it's a great question. Great points made by everyone so far. But I think the key here is, what are the issues that you brought up right now? Well, all those are important, right? And so is the study. And when you're on the EPC, in this case, me and Alex and others, we listen to the community needs. We foster that. We did the heavy lifting to get in the community buy-in. But more importantly, we spoke to those issues at the dais. We brought that attention up to everyone so that they can pay attention to the needs of the community. And quite frankly, staff just does the bare minimum. And that's what we push. And we need to speak up at that time in those moments, because if we don't, we lose that opportunity to make a difference in the community. We can say all that all the time. We want to make a difference. But what counts is when you're there, what do you say? How do you say it? And how do you get it done? And so in this case, we pushed for the study to be not done 2 or 3 years later, but next year. I proposed that. The APC was in favor of that. We passed that. We suggested it to City Council. They approved it. And that's the type of leadership that I bring to the table, right? You can't be afraid to speak up. You have to speak up when you have the chance. And all those things that you brought up earlier in terms of what these are and how soon we can do these, well, we need to do these as soon as possible. And we need to push the staff to be able to be more amendable and meeting not just the needs of the community, but following through with these promises and actions, because now it's a binding contract as far as I'm concerned with the state. And if we failed in our compliance, we also have to give them updates on that. And I don't want to be able to fail on any of those issues that you brought up at the beginning. We need to be successful with that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jose. Eric, can you share your thoughts on the housing element?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. So yes, I think it was a hard-fought battle, especially with community members who are highly impacted on what the necessities are that need to be addressed. I think especially when it comes to a conversation with our staff at the city level, it's about creating a timeline of when are these deliverables are going to be met. I think that as much as we can discuss this, I think the housing element gives us a great game plan of what we can start with, how can we address it, and especially when it comes to like people at risk of being displaced when new developments are being brought up, and how quickly we need to get them housed in order to remain here in Mountain View. I mean, those are things that we need to have a clear timeline when they can get accomplished, and also seeing like how we're going to get the funding for them. So I agree with what was said by Emily, Jose, and a lot of folks, and I think it's just being able to demand that we get these clear directives across and we get them accomplished in a timely manner.
Yeah, thank you, Erik. IdaRose, can you share your thoughts?
Yes, specific to the points that you brought up, I think it's incredibly important that we continue to do work outside of the housing element to preserve our mobile home parks, and also make sure that the people who live there, especially all of the seniors who make up a significant portion of the population, can still afford to live there. So that directly to your question, but I think we need to amend the mobile home rent stabilization ordinance to adjust the AGA to 60% of CPI or 3%, whichever is higher. I'm sorry, whichever is lower. I'm a big fan of our community action plan to encourage purchases of property, either through community land trust or co-ops or other models. I've studied these extensively, especially with my work at the Mountain View Los Altos Community Foundation, looking at things like accelerator programs and other nonprofits and partnerships that will make these kind of programs possible and ensure that we preserve these properties. I'm hoping that Prop 33 passes and that we can make adjustments to our rent control for everybody, make more robust and more modernized rent control for our communities. And lastly, of course, we need a stronger anti-displacement strategy that protects people as we redevelop our properties. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, IdaRose. Chris, can you share your thoughts?
Yes. So as was pointed out, this is the first housing element cycle where we really had some teeth to this whole process and the actual housing element itself. I'm proud of the work that I did in my last few years on council. I was also on the ABAG executive board, which worked on the RENA allocations to make sure that both Mountain View and all the communities within the Bay Area are stepping up to the plate to help meet our housing needs. With respect to Mountain View specifically, I would say that really what we need to do is move forward with being proud of, as Councilmember Ramos pointed out, we were one of the few cities to receive a pro-housing designation, and we need to meet the intent of that and continue the course, especially as councils change over time, because this is a long-term plan. And I think the best way to do that is approach it like we did with the general plan and the precise plans, where we had implementation plans with clearly defined goals and timelines, where regardless of how council changes over time, we're working with staff to ensure that we're meeting our goals at specific points in time and addressing all of the elements within that package that we said and committed to the state to do, to not just produce additional housing, but also to preserve different types of housing opportunities and different housing products for folks within Mountain View over the next decade.
Thank you, Chris. John, can you share your thoughts on this?
Absolutely. Now, 10 years ago, I advocated for Mountain View buying apartments. They were about $600,000. Now they're $800,000. They're going buying motels and converting them. If we bought those apartments, we would still have about 300 or 400 more affordable housing units available. And one thing nice about the city owning those affordable housing, we can use them for rapid rehousing, domestic violence, whatever need, we can do it. And mobile home parks and those units are possible that maybe we want the city to buy them to use those also for family housing. A lot of the things about the housing element is based on what's happening out in Bayshore. About they're going to be building so many units and so many affordable housing. But has anybody been watching Google? They're consolidating, they're contracting. And so when the city comes along and does a 30-year development agreement, we need things now. And that's why when I was on council, I said, we need to buy those now. And I think potentially, if we do a bond issue, we can buy all these affordable housing units and maintain them. If people are saying they're going to be doing redevelopment, maybe we can work a deal out with developers and say, you're going to redevelop, sell us some of these units, and maybe we'll give you a credit or something down the road. So when you build your new units, it will be affordable for the city to buy them, and the developer has an incentive to do it. People say we're not in the housing business, but we are. And we need to be, because we need to control things. We wait, the city council and all these other organizations, they're always waiting for somebody else to build it. We need to take control of it, be proactive, and build these items now.
Yeah, thank you, John. And Devon, can you wrap us up?
Sure, I'll be the tail that wags the dog again. So when we look at the housing element, it was a huge undertaking. I agree a lot with what a lot of my colleagues here tonight have said. But when I look at how I want to work on it, my greatest concern is prioritizing our most vulnerable residents first. Regardless of what those strategies are, that's who we need to prioritize. And why I come to this is because in our school district, 33% of our students qualify for free and reduced price lunch. That means a family of 4 has a household income of $55,500 or less. In the housing world, that qualifies them as very low income. And it's hard to build affordable housing that is actually affordable for very low income households. Our housing element calls for over 2,700 very low income units, and we have hardly scratched the surface on reaching that. So my priority will be looking at the strategies, incentives, and partnerships, funding sources, and developers who can work with us to make sure that we're housing our very low income residents, especially families, and building some 2- and 3-bedroom units for them.
Thank you, Devon. And thank you all for your thoughts on this housing element. Tish, over to you for the next question.
All right. Thank you, Jason. My name is Tish, and I'm a proud resident of Santiago Villa. My question is on infrastructure. So the city provides critical transportation infrastructure and programs to support city residents. Mobile home residents are looking for city support on things like park electrical upgrades, broadband, and better infrastructure for walking and biking. What can the city do, and what would you prioritize when it comes to infrastructure improvements that could help the mobile home community? And Alex, if you could shuffle the candidates. Thank you. So John, question, what are your infrastructure priorities?
Well, thank you for asking, because that was one of my big deals is transportation. When I was on VTA, I always thought transportation was a great way to reduce greenhouse gases. And let me cut off the back. I had to mute there because the ice cream truck just went by. So but I was always pushing, again, transportation. That's one great way to reduce greenhouse gases. And when I was on the council, I pushed this sort of multimodal transportation mode where we could see where all the vehicles and various shuttle services would come into play, and we could reduce traffic. We could get people moving around and improve their better quality of life. Another thing that I was pushing about is broadband. And Alex will tell you, when I left, I said, we got to be a smart city. We got to start putting broadband in for the whole city. And during COVID, it was very blatant that there was parts of Mountain View where the school students couldn't get onto broadband to do their homework. And we need to get that taken care of, because that one will help the residents of Mountain View, put us in a position where businesses will want to come because we are fully technologically advanced and handle all those type of priorities. So those are some of my thoughts on infrastructure, but we got to get our roads taken care of. We got to, you see the roads are bad. There's weeds growing, but that means we still have to be a fiscally responsible city. And maybe we got to start looking at our priorities and reducing so many work plan items and get the ones that are actually take care and help our people.
Thank you, John. Nicholas.
I think that one of the great things about our mobile home park community is their proximity to transit. We have El Camino Real with VTA servicing Moffett Boulevard, which also has VTA routes and the community shuttle. And we also have the community shuttle on Shoreline. However, I ask myself, how do people get from their home to our shuttle system? That's where walking and biking becomes so critical. When you look at Sylvan, which is where Moore Park and Sunset Estates are, it's an incredibly busy street. And so I ask myself, can people get there safely? I'm very interested in traffic calming measures so that our children can go around the neighborhood safely, and making sure that we have the facilities for bikers and for walkers. I think that Class 4 protected bike lanes are the gold standard, and they keep bikers safe in all situations. I'm very interested in also pursuing new and innovative projects like microgrids at our mobile home park communities. Because they are really self-sustaining, it makes sense to put in a sustainable solution. And so partnering with our mobile home parks to explore a microgrid is very exciting to me. I also believe that we need to focus on vegetation. Our mobile home parks are very close to major transit corridors, which means that they are exposed to more pollution than other parts of the city. I think that we need to require strict vegetation barriers between the transit areas and our mobile home parks to reduce pollution.
Thank you, Nicholas. Jose.
Yes, thank you. I agree with the majority of what Nicholas had mentioned, because the microgrids are pretty important to me too. And one of the things that I remember way back in the day, and for those who live in the community, the mobile home park that's close to Shoreline or Castro, they would have power outages, and that lack of power in their home obviously is an issue. But the question's been there for a while, right? What can the city do? Well, it hasn't been a lot done. And so my priority is to be able to get there and to look at these issues and figure out from working with the rest of the community there and the mobile home parks, but also on the dais, to pressure city staff to figure out our priorities. We have a list of priorities that the city's been adding on to for the last 10, 15 years. And John alluded to it earlier. There's not going to be enough money for everything. And we're going to have to re-examine what it is that's important to us as a whole. We're going to have to walk the walk. And when we do that, then we'll be able to then address the issues of broadband and electricity and the issue of not just affordability, but livability, right? It's not just sustainability, but it's also dignity. What type of quality of life do you have when you live in a community such as in a mobile home park? Should it be different from everyone else? Should it be less than? I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Emily.
I think about how we can, as former trustee Gutierrez mentioned, that like we have a lot of priorities and a lot of work plan items that go down. And so we have to actually be really smart about how does certain work plans double up to help multiple outcomes. And so I think about our active transportation plan. Tragically, that I remember a few years back, there was a elementary school student who was a resident of Sahara who was struck on Grant and El Camino. And we saw like what the route he had to take to go to school. It was not a safe route. And so as we're looking at creating a bikeable, walkable, safe route for our mobile home residents, who we have these communities that are actually very self-sufficient on their own and very community oriented, but we want them to be connected to the community. As we look at things like our active transportation plan, you have Moffett Mobile Home Park, where you have, we're looking at our Moffett Precise Plan, and we can work on that frontage and connecting that to the downtown, which would be something really powerful for that mobile home park. Santiago Villa, we're looking at North Bayshore. A lot of that's in flux right now, but we hope that as we build in North Bayshore, the residents of Santiago Villa, who are like the original residents there, are able to have a say and make that community integrated, not being thrown into like a corner and being forgotten as we get all these new shiny buildings. So that's how I'm kind of viewing our infrastructure priorities. How do we integrate our mobile home communities into the rest of the city, into a seamless and safe experience? And those are overall my infrastructure priorities. Thank you so much.
IdaRose.
Thank you for a great question. I'll try to hit some of these points without repeating everybody's points. Number one is we need free broadband throughout our city for everybody. And I think we should rely on our corporate partners to help us get there. We do need to modernize the electrical grids for the parks. That will lead us to be able to electrify all the parks, which create safer environment, cleaner air inside of homes. And to do that, we might also need to look at how to get more solar and backup batteries for people who live in the parks, again, through partnerships, maybe with our utility supplier. In terms of removing the isolation that several of our parks have, I would like to look at how we could stop the Santiago Village bottleneck, how to get people maybe through Moffett Field, and look at partnerships to have a southern route that doesn't have, that can have a safer way for people to get out of the park, especially during times when there are concerts. And in case of an emergency, there should be ways to be able to do that. And it's beyond time that we work on safe routes to school for everybody. These are not difficult things to do. We need to do these things that protect our community, protect our children, protect our families, and not keep waiting to do them. And those are my key points. And I'd also like to see an evaluation of our community shuttle to make sure that adequate service is, there is adequate service for all our parks.
Pat, I think you're muted.
Infrastructure is a huge topic, and you specifically ask about transportation, right? Okay, all right. Well, because I often talk about water and flood protection and sea level rise, but this time we're asking about transportation. A tremendous amount has been said, and it's really good. We do need to be very, very careful of our priorities, and also to make sure that each project that we do meets multiple objectives and coordinates with other things that are going on throughout the city. We need to have systems that are all connected. That's really true with our bike systems. We've been working very hard in the last few years to build out our bike plan, so that the bottlenecks that have been identified, where there really isn't a good way to bike, are being filled in with new bike routes. That's something that should be happening very soon on El Camino Real, for instance, which is going to be a great improvement. It's going to have bike lanes on either side. Safe routes to school are sort of a soft kind of an infrastructure where we identify the best ways for kids to get to school. And then in addition to identifying those ways, we actually go out to every school in Mountain View twice a year to teach classes on how they should bike safely. We organize kids into pods for safe routes to school to get to and from school. And we work to make it them able to actually implement and use the infrastructure well. I think that's really important, using it well. Another thing that hasn't been mentioned here is the importance of having complete streets. And complete streets have, there's streets where you're supposed to be able to bike, you're supposed to be able to walk by them comfortably, and you're supposed to be able to drive on them. And they are normally tree lined so that it's pleasant to actually bike and walk on them. And there are stormwater systems to help collect stormwater. And they help our biodiversity by creating corridors of green and vegetation. So those are some of the things that I think hadn't been mentioned before that are really important to add into the mix. But what really counts is how it all fits together. And it is important for the council to always keep their eye on that.
Thanks, Pat. Devon.
I'm going to try and talk about three things in a really short amount of time. One, internet access is a human right. Everyone should have access to high quality broadband. When we had to close schools in 2020 because of COVID, I formed the Digital Equity Coalition with 5 other trustees from throughout Santa Clara County. And we started advocating for short-term solutions to get kids online right away and long-term broadband infrastructure development. In that year, by August, we had gotten $10 million from the County Board of Supervisors to get 15,000 families across the county online with short-term solutions like Chromebooks, hotspots, and data plans. Now, in our school district, we pushed that even further. We have developed a citizens broadcast radio service network. If you have questions, I can talk you through the technicalities of it later. but we now make sure that every single family in our district is online. But the idea that we don't have broadband infrastructure in our city is just wild to me. The county is currently developing a broadband strategic master plan, much like what Santa Cruz County has. I recommend you look it up. And if you want to get on our Digital Equity Coalition mailing list, we're still just working at the county level constantly to make sure that they follow through. And I think Mountain View should partner with the county because we need a regional solution. Number two, PG&E. If you want something done by PG&E, like improving your electrical grid, your city council members need to be advocating up to the state level. Because at the school district, to get anything done, we've had to go to our state assembly members, our state senators, our county supervisors to get them to also pressure PG&E to follow through and get projects done. And then thirdly, when it comes to transportation, we did lose a 12-year-old middle school student a few years ago who was biking to school, as Councilmember Ramos talked about. I believe in something called the popsicle rule. An 8-year-old should be able to get on their bike and in 5 minutes pick up a popsicle at a local store and bike home safely. That's not just a safe route to school. That needs to be citywide. That makes sure that we have thriving and safe neighborhoods for everyone in them if we can make sure our infrastructure is pedestrian and bicycle safe regardless of where you are. Thank you.
Thanks, Devon. Erik.
Hi, thank you for the question. I think Mountain View should be prioritizing infrastructure that really enhances the quality of life for our residents. I mean, one of the key priorities here should be preserving the affordable housing, particularly within like Santiago Villa or Sahara Village. I think we should be focusing on upgrading roads, enhancing utility systems, and improving the drainage to prevent flooding and ensuring that our communities remain safe and viable. And that could mean even like partnering with other agencies like Valley Water. I think with respects to transportation, we can enhance bike lanes on major corridors like El Camino Real, whereas Devon and Councilmember Ramos have mentioned, like there's been too many deaths in that corridor, and I think just one is too many by that point, and we need to do a self-reflection on how we can ensure that our kids get home safe by the end of the day. And that also can include lighting, such as in Shoreline. I don't know if you've driven at it very late at night, but those little street lights don't really illuminate who are those people crossing, causing real harm to them. So that could be a thing that we can discuss. I think also enhancing our public transit infrastructure is another conversation that we can having, such as adding more sheltered bus stops and increasing VTA services more frequently in order to ensure that our residents have much more sustainable transportation options. And I think more importantly is also talking to our residents within our mobile home parks and seeing like what is the priority for them. Is it internet access? Is it the microplants? What is it? And I would want to prioritize those initiatives first. These are my ideas, of course, but I think first must be that communication or that dialogue with y'all and see how do we move forward with it and what would be much more viable options for y'all moving forward. Thank you.
Chris.
So broadband, the need there is very real. And if you haven't already, the city is trying to move on that. I know they were doing a survey of the community. I don't know if it's wrapped up yet, but if our mobile home residents haven't been very vocal on those surveys, they really should be. But I know those are some of the key areas that the city plans to look at in terms of figuring out solutions to expand broadband access. So that's something that's ongoing, and we should take advantage of this particular opportunity. Not that we shouldn't continue it later, but I think that's something that can be moved on immediately. In terms of infrastructure, I have to admit, I'm a little worried for in the North Bay Shore area in particular with some of the pullback that's occurred because I think a lot of the really exciting infrastructure improvements that were proposed as part of the Google's and others development of North Bay Shore might be getting drawn out. So I think we're going to have to look at what key infrastructure projects we should try our best to move forward on, even if we don't have them as an immediate partner. I think the shoreline off-ramp realignment needs to occur. I still feel strongly that we should explore a crossing across Stevens Creek Boulevard, whether it's at Charleston or elsewhere, because another means of ingress and egress would be really important, even if it's restricted to residents and public safety. And then On the electricity and other infrastructure projects, those are really going to be about partnerships. So us working with Silicon Valley Clean Energy, PG&E, as others have pointed out, is really difficult. But those needs are true likely in many mobile home communities, not just in Mountain View, but elsewhere. And I think there are probably solutions out there that we can work with some of the regional bodies like Silicon Valley Clean Energy and some of the broader Bay Area agencies to look at solutions that have worked elsewhere and look at implementing those in partnership with our mobile home residents and park owners.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your thoughtful responses. I'm going to pass it over to B for the next question.
Okay, my question is about mobile home housing costs, or the AGA, as you probably know it. Mountain View's mobile home parks are overwhelmingly populated by seniors, most of whom are on Social Security. Over the last 10 years, our average annual cost of living adjustment was 2.6%. But with recent inflation, we've had multiple 5% increases that led to significantly more of our fixed incomes going to rent. The community has asked the city to lower the annual rent increase ceiling to 3% and index it to 60% of CPI in line with other Bay Area cities like Hayward. Alex, will you shuffle the candidates, please? The question is, do you support rent stabilization in principle? And do you support reducing the maximum allowable annual rent increase for mobile homes? Emily, would you start, please?
Oh, yay. So I do support rent stabilization in principle. It is something that you hope anyone who serves on the RHC or the Rental Housing Committee would do. Sometimes that's not always a given, but it's something you hope for everyone who serves on the RHC. I remember the days when the mobile home parks were fighting to be covered by rent stabilization, and the frustration and the disappointing votes. You have all fought for the rights you have now. I wish I could say that it's done, but it's not. You still have to continue to fight for your rights. I do support taking a look at reducing the maximum, the AGA, the annual general adjustment for mobile home parks. It's important to look at some of the other cities, particularly with the mobile home park rent stabilization laws that they have in other cities, because other cities, a lot of them have percentages of the CPI as opposed to here in Mountain View where it's 100% of CPI. It is worth exploring that, because you're in apartments, the landlord is covering other things like overall infrastructure. You own your homes. So there's some cost sharing on that I think allows us to take a look at limiting that increase a little bit more strictly than, say, in an apartment rent ordinance. However, I'm excited to take a look about where other cities are at. There are more and more rent stabilization jurisdictions popping up, and it's exciting to see what more cities will be coming up with, and how, not just with the AGA, but also with how are we ensuring that protection for mobile home park residents.
IdaRose, would you like to expand on that?
I support what the residents are asking for. I think it makes a lot of sense considering how much we need to protect the seniors in our mobile home parks and the working families too. It's really important. And I think the fact that there's an example in Hayward is also really helpful in other jurisdictions as well.
Nicholas, would you like to share your thoughts?
Absolutely. The average age of Mountain View is about 37 years old, whereas if you go to Los Altos or Palo Alto, it's 45 and up, which means that we have to pay special attention to our seniors and make sure that they have an affordable place to live. I support reducing the maximum rent increase annually to 3% or 60% of CPI. And I think that we should pair that with strengthening our mobile home conversion ordinance. The fact of the matter is that mobile home park owners have been incredibly aggressive towards the people who live in their parks. And we have to prepare for a response from them when we pursue this. It needs to be a dual action by the City Council to simultaneously lower the allowable increase and prepare for the park owner's response.
Erik, would you like to share your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yes, I think in general, as a general principle, I am supportive of reducing the maximum allowable annual rent increase. Especially having been a community outreach specialist and case manager at CSA, you would think it was just like these multi-person homes just receiving that support, but we were seeing a lot of seniors actually in attendance, whether that be seeking rental support and trying to just stay in a home that they live there for like 30 plus years. And that's just atrocious to see that like a place they called home essentially now is pricing them out. So I think when we're talking about protecting our residents, especially those who most of our seniors that tend to reside in mobile home parks, we want to make sure that they're well protected. And yeah, creating those safeguards and being prepared to battle against any of those who want to oppose us in that decision. I mean, I would want all of us in general to be able to reside in a place that we've now decided to call home and not be priced out like my family has when they used to live in San Jose. And that goes for our seniors as well. They're our most vulnerable community with fixed incomes. Even with the annual rent increases, they can't even sustain that, especially when you have like their Social Security income being at a fixed rate. So yes. Thank you.
Jose, you're next.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and look, I agree with the majority of what's been said in general. And yes, I am in support of rent control and the stabilization principle, and yes to the modification to up to 3% only. But you have to ask yourself these questions, right? You're always advocating. You're always pushing. You're always fighting to be heard, to be listened to. What's council doing? We know this. They know this. It's not a surprise. When rent stabilization was first brought up, it was a war. A lot of folks didn't want it. When I was on the school board and I was advocating for that, and then had the superintendent support it as well, a lot of folks in the city were like, nope, we don't want to do this. The city has known about these issues for a long time. And this is where I come into play, right? My questions are, why haven't we done more when we know that there's a problem there? Why does it have to be a forum like this where we actually speak to these issues, where you get to hear what we would like to do? The onus should also be on City Council to be proactive and to push staff to be able to reprioritize the priorities that we have now and the projects, because if this is so important, we need to act on this now. Not tomorrow, not next year, not 2 years from now, but now. Thank you.
Ann, will you share your thoughts, please?
Yeah, I support rent control stabilization in principle. And actually, since Measure V passed, I have been a strong supporter of its implementation. And the system we have, the City Council, really isn't the rent control jurisdiction. We're not in control. It's the rental housing committee that's in control. And they very thoughtfully and sometimes not nearly as quickly as many of us would have wanted, as Emily mentioned, went through a number of issues to get rent control up and running. And really, I think now for most things, it's working quite well. But one of the things that has just come on board in the last year or so has been mobile home protections. And as you've mentioned, what we have probably isn't strong enough yet. But there was pushback from the owners, and it seemed like a good balanced approach with which to begin. Well, now that we've done it for a while, I think it's time to push the envelope further and get the AGA reduced.
Thank you. John? John, we're not hearing you. You're muted.
Can we get the time clock to add another 10 seconds? Thank you very much, referee. The this is going to be interesting because I do support rent stabilization. When the item first came up, it wasn't really fair or a way it was thought out because there was unintended consequences. And the unintended consequences is that the landlord couldn't get a fair return. They're going to tear down their affordable housing units and put up row houses or whatever. And that's what I was concerned about. And that's why I'm saying buy the units now. I have 4 very important employees working for me that are in rent controlled buildings or subsidized housing. So yes, as a business owner, I'm supporting of it. As a human being, I think people need to have, the city needs diversification. We don't need gentrification. And so those going there. Support the allowable maximal. In principle, I'm looking at it because when I was talking with Alex, he was talking about some of the mobile home people wanted to do infrastructure improvements like electricity so they can get the 100 amp and bring in some items there. So who's going to pay for it? Now, maybe there's a way that the rent can come down, but there's the compromise of let's do infrastructure improvement in the park so people get the broadband and electrical outlets because then they could do their electric kitchens and work on that. So I think in principle, we could do something. Let's work about it. But I think there's something can be done, but it has to be between the two of the people at the table to get it taken care of.
Chris, will you share your thoughts, please?
Yeah, so similar to the mayor, since Measure V passed, I've supported its implementation. There were I think some regretful steps along the way. I wish that mobile homes had been included in that from the very beginning, so that we would have had the same protections across the board over a period of time. But I did support putting those protections in place by ordinance, and I didn't get to have I voted to start drafting that ordinance. I didn't have a chance because I turned off to vote on it, but I would have supported that at the time. To implement rent control for mobile homes. I think with respect to the one benefit of having it done via ordinance is that it can be revised. And so if it isn't working for our mobile home park residents, if there are tweaks that need to be made, we can evaluate those, and those are changes that we can make over time. So whether the right answer is the percentage of AGI with the maximum that's been proposed, or whether it's something else, I don't know the answers to those, but I just want everyone to know that those are things that I'm open to exploring, especially since it was done by ordinance, and I know it took longer to put in place than we would have liked. So I think I'm certainly open to exploring ways to improve the ordinance and the protections if something isn't working. I just don't know right now what the right answer is, and that's something that if I'm elected, I would need to work with you all on, and perhaps talk to other stakeholders too, some of whom we have better relationships with than others, and you can probably guess who I'm thinking about. But anyway, it's something that I'm open to.
Devon, can you finish up for us, please?
Yes, I apologize on my phone. I had to use my phone because my audio wasn't working well on my computer, but it makes it awkward to unmute sometimes. So I support rent control and stabilization, and I'll tell you why. My child, he's 11. My oldest one is 11. I have a 19-month-old too. He went to Mistral, which is about half low-income Spanish-speaking families at the school site. And so when I was volunteering in his kindergarten and first grade classrooms and helping kids learn to read, I have also seen those children and those families forced out of Mountain View because they couldn't afford to live here any longer. And part of that is because not only are they, many of them are living in rent-controlled apartments and units, but those units we are seeing in my neighborhood and Shoreline West and the edge of also Rangsdorf neighborhood, we're seeing those apartments getting torn down to build townhomes that are market rate townhomes. So I think in partnership with rent control and stabilization, we're really going to have to keep examining displacement strategies and how we're not losing affordable units when some of these rent-controlled sites are turning over. When it comes to the mobile home housing ordinance, I'm definitely open to exploring updating that policy, especially ordinances. They're living, breathing documents and kind of examples of values that we share. So getting to hear more about it from you all, examining more the cities around us and what they're doing. Hayward is a great example. How is it going there? Do they feel like it's the right amount? Is it too much? Is it too little? Why? Those are things that I'd like to explore on council.
Thank you. We can move to the next topic is Alex.
It is. It's me. Okay. And I will try to speak slowly for the benefit of our interpreters. There are frequent complaints from residents about the city wasting time and money on projects that some feel are unnecessary while neglecting the residents' more pressing concerns. The City Council has discussed one potential solution, which is using an auditor to audit the performance of city projects. The city charter already establishes a position for city auditor. Would you support the council filling this position to achieve more transparency and accountability in city operations, or do you have other ideas for how to fix this? And then Alex, would you please shuffle? Oh yeah, of course. All right. IdaRose, you're up first.
To be honest, I would need to understand more about what the auditor would be doing. From my perspective, from a business perspective, we need to do a project management look at all of the projects that we currently
Wait, sorry,
have.
1 second. Is it you or me?
Sorry?
Never mind. Sorry.
Okay. I don't need the time back on the clock. So I think we need to take a look at this from a project management perspective. Take a look at all of the projects we have in our work plans, and have somebody look at the priorities, like reprioritize them so that the highest priority projects that are easy to do, that make the biggest impact, get done, instead of just leaving the largest plans on top of the largest projects because they don't get done, and then the small projects don't get done. If that's what the auditor could do, I would support that. I'll turn it over to someone.
All right, Emily.
So the answer to a simple answer of the initial question was yes, I do support hiring our auditor to also look at the efficiencies of how our cities are doing our projects. I did that vote and I lost that vote, but I also, one thing that you could also look at in terms of metrics and accountability is in our budget. And it's really hard because like our budget is so massive. It's like if you run it through reading it, it's like 12 hours. But in the budget for each individual department, they have the metrics of what makes them succeed. And you have to be really good about, I'm sorry, I'm trying to be slow, but I'm also looking at my time and I have like 10 seconds left. But yes, looking at the metrics of ensuring that they are what we are trying to achieve.
Oh boy. Pat.
I don't have much time either. I'd just like to say that every 6 months, the council does look at the things that are considered discretionary. And we do try and reevaluate what should go forward and what shouldn't go forward. And we need to hear a lot more from the community about this, because normally it's kind of a sleeper of an item. So that would be my request is let's hear more.
All right, Nicholas.
Our city staff are our most important asset as an organization. And the reality is that unfortunately, a lot of public sector employees decided to change jobs during the pandemic. We've seen a significant amount of turnover in our own staff. We have a new public works director. And I think that pursuing a city auditor needs to be narrowly tailored so that we continue to communicate to our city staff that we have confidence in them and that we're only implementing this solution so that we can grow more effectively as a city. So what does that look like? I agree that we'll need city input and we need to hear residents and what their priorities are. But one initial idea that comes to me is our housing. Housing is one of the most important things that the city does. And so potentially implementing a city auditor for our permitting and building departments would be a good idea. I also agree with Emily that our city budget is a statement of our values, and the city council is responsible for guiding the city's finances. One of my priorities is equity-based budgeting. I want to serve the segments of our population that have been underrepresented and underserved over the years. And I want to make sure that we're focusing on areas that need investment the most.
All right, Erik.
Thank you for the question. And as a principal, yes, I am supportive of that. I think it can give us a bit of insight of what's been going on. I think so long as it's all in good faith. I mean, I think regarding other alternatives that may exist in order to make sure that we are transparent to the constituents that we're serving, I mean, we can think about, and I agree with Emily with like our budget's a clear way of showing like where our money is being appropriated to. But it is kind of difficult to navigate, especially when you have all those pages, right? I would be open to having like public dashboards, so that it's showing real-time updates on city projects, including like the timelines, the budget that's being appropriated, and the progress reports that come along with it. And I think that would be, if we're talking about accessibility and the capabilities of people being able to use that, especially those who are maybe not as tech savvy as some of us may be, I think that would increase some of the transparency as we're working toward an auditor. Thank you.
All right, Chris.
So the prioritization and the speed with which we finish city projects, the accountability there is on the council. That the buck stops with the city council, and they regularly receive updates on what's in progress, and they make decisions about reprioritization and all those things. I think what you're getting at is the more, and one of the things that I hope to strengthen is the transparency around what is going on and when. So for example, some of the treasure troves of data of like what projects are all under construction this quarter, they exist, they're just buried, and they're really difficult to find through the website if you don't necessarily know where to look. And which roads are getting paved when, or which projects are getting constructed when, what are the top priorities for various infrastructure projects. Those tend to be more difficult to find. And so I don't think the city auditor position you're referring to is probably not going to help a lot with this, because the city auditor, the way it was envisioned, is meant to be focused on a few other things more financial than on infrastructure. But I understand the point's well taken.
All right, Devon.
Yep, I'm in favor of performance auditing. I think that continuous improvement is important, not just in the education sector, but everywhere else. And it means working in partnership with staff. It's not something punitive. It's to help everyone be as successful as they can in their roles and make sure that we're as streamlined and modernized as we can be. Look at our permitting processes. We know we need to modernize our permitting process. But if we were doing continuous performance auditing, we might have come to that realization sooner. So those are, things that I think are worth pursuing.
Jose?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Thanks. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm having a little bit of issues with my phone here, so I apologize for that. But yeah, no, in terms of the auditor, I think the perspective is pretty simple, right? It's to be a gatekeeper of the finances, I thought. That's how I interpreted it as well. But the spirit of it, just like Chris said, is understood. And I think that's what the point was behind Lucas's request a little while ago when he was asking for a metrics tracker of being able to figure out what projects are there, where are we, and along the way, what's the timeline estimate for completion? He didn't get enough support for that to be passed on city council. And Chris is right. The onus is on city council to be responsible to those issues. Lucas brought that up because pretty much it's a concern from the community. It's not just you all who are thinking about that. It's me, it's folks from around here on Latham in California. It's folks from Montalona, folks from old Mountain View neighborhoods. It's a concern. It's a genuine concern. And I think we need to follow through with all that, because if you want good governance, you need transparency. If you want transparency, you need accountability. And if you don't have any of that in general, then you have a whole bunch of question marks and things to go through to figure out what things are being worked on. And I know that the bigger projects will be listed out and you get updates every 6 months or so, but it's the scheme of it all, right? It's the way that it's proposed, that it's talked about, that it's given, that it's informative. If people don't feel that they're a part of that process and understand it, they're going to feel isolated and they're not going to think that we're working with good intentions. And that's not what we need right now. That's why we need new voices for change. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, John.
Yeah, I agree that we need increased transparency and accountability, but I don't agree that hiring another auditor would make a difference. The city spends a lot of money on consultants, and what do we get? We just delay projects because they're reviewing it and trying to figure out what to do and getting input. Input from our residents is paramount. And we have all these commissions and committees that people are volunteering for. And if we get everybody reaching out to those people, we'll get public input. But to spend money for an auditor, which if I'm not mistaken, I think the city finance manager, or was it the city attorney, had a dual purpose, and Chris maybe help me out. But let's spend that money where it's actually going to do good and get the staff. Chris, we're all right. The council is accountable. We need to be proactive to the staff and have them report to us, not them reporting to us. We need to push them hard.
All right, and you're out of time.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
All right, moving on to Jason.
Yeah, thank you very much. My question was about city revenue and the decreases we're having for the city. But in the interest of time, I'm going to pass this time over to Joan to ask her a question about unhoused residents.
Thank you,
Joan,
Jason.
you're muted.
Yes, I just unmuted. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everybody. Many members of the mobile home community continue to face the risk of being priced out of their homes. We see the many other community members who are still unable to find consistent shelter in our city, and we feel empathy for their plight and fear that one day we could face a similar fate. So despite years of talk and significant expenditures, homelessness remains a problem throughout the region and throughout Mountain View. So Alex, would you shuffle the deck again? And the question is to the 9 candidates. I think we only have 8 left standing, am I right? How would you support the 300 plus residents who are now unhoused? Thank you.
Is that me? Oh, is John not getting his point? 4 seconds. Just kidding. I think that's a great question. And I think that's something I think we should be collaborating with not only community-based organizations, but I think at the county and state level of how we can be able to address such an important need for many communities many community members who have either been displaced because of high rent or because they got hurt at work or because of an illness. These are things that are important to me to want to figure out with our residents. I mean, right now, we went to myself, IdaRose, and Nicholas went to Hope's Corner, and it was very sad to see like even some of the patrons I worked with in past continue to be in need of services, whether that be with uplift or food services or even trying to find guest housing. And I think what we're doing right now in order to mitigate the problem is just like trying to create safe parking or trying to build more affordable housing and so on and so forth. But I think one of the important things that we need to do is stop vilifying these community members who are just in desperate need of support. And on top of that, it's really trying to, I would think we should allocate some of the, and I'd be interested in exploring this too with council and how it could be managed, and if there's buy-in for property owners, but using those empty spaces that we have and being able to place some of those folks in there and see if we can somehow mitigate some of those costs for them as well. So, I mean, I think there's other things that can possibly be done, but yeah, we'd want to work with other community partners, state officials, and others to see how we can best support these residents.
Pat.
Mountain View has done good work in the last several years to look after our homeless community. For example, we built the Life Moves transitional housing facility, which houses about 100 households. And we're currently renovating the Crestview Hotel, which will focus on families and foster kids. I think that we need to continue looking at those types of projects, because at the end of the day, sort of like what John was saying, is we need units and we need to acquire units. So that will require partnership with Santa Clara County and the state of California. There are things that we can do as a city to protect the people who have been impacted by displacement. I think that a group that has been significantly displaced is our vehicle dwellers. When we passed the oversized vehicle ordinance as a city, which shows that we need to continue to be a compassionate city by expanding our safe parking program. And I'm in favor of continuing the settlement agreement that maintains 3 miles of city roads for vehicle dwellers.
Thank you. Pat.
Okay, I'm out of time, I thought.
You have 13 seconds.
I think we need to continue doing all of the things we've been doing. We're evaluating, we're having a big strategic evaluation of those programs this fall that will be telling, and we also need to work.
And Chris.
Basically what Nicholas said. I mean, the way that we continue to address this is through partnerships with the state and the county, and continuing to do really good things like the Life Moves project and partnering with the county on Crestview Hotel. And you'll recall, like, a lot of community members came out in opposition to that, and it's going to be incumbent upon us, to be having the political will and motivation to push forward those projects, even when parts of our community are against it, and just use what we've done as an example to show that these things work and that the world doesn't end when you do some of these things. The really scary outcomes don't necessarily happen when you support our unhoused population.
Thank you. Emily.
Homelessness. Oh, shit.
Okay, thank you. Next is Jose. Do you have something more positive to say?
There you go. Sorry about that. Yeah. Sorry, Emily. Hey, but I know what you mean, and I know how you feel. So, truth be told, though, this is a serious issue, right? And we all see this. We saw the divisiveness when rent control came about, and the lack of the mobile home community being part of that. People will say, "Oh, it takes time to do all this stuff." Come on. You either do it or you don't. You have the political will or you don't. When you're on the dais, you have to speak up. You have to be fearless. You have to do the right things, even when people say, "Don't do it, don't run, it's not your turn." You believe what you believe in, and you go forward and doing the right thing. And in this case, we need to step up with our partnerships and keep going, because there's limited resources. Teaming up with the county or with the state may not be feasible, either for this or for broadband. They're already looking at cutbacks for that. Newsom's already done a lot of cutbacks for that in general, and nothing's been passed at the county level to address those two issues at a big level approach, which tells me that we're going to be fighting for this for the most part on our own, and we've got to do a better job to get those partnerships going so we can continue on with transitional housing and these other side projects that we have as a city that we should be proud of. When we help, we do step up, and we step in, and we do it right.
Thank you, Jose. IdaRose, what do you say?
Ditto to what a lot of people said. We need strong partnerships at the county, at the state, at the federal level, with nonprofits, with other creative thinkers who can help us get through this. But most importantly, we really need to stabilize people, people who are experiencing having unstable housed. We need to make sure we have safe parking. We need to expand our program, not contract it when lots come up. for redevelopment. We need to make sure that there's adequate parking on streets, that we maintain at least the 3 miles in the future. We need to provide the services that people need to help get into more stable housing in the long term. And we can't do that until we give people a stable place to live in some form of transitional housing. I also support universal basic income, workforce development to help people be able to have more stable income, but we also have to work on our housing supply so we actually have affordable housing that people can live in.
Thank you, IdaRose. Devon, what do you say?
So 20% of our students at Castro Elementary School are homeless. And that is shocking for a lot of people to hear about Silicon Valley, but there is a huge need. And when we're talking about our unhoused residents, we're also talking about families and children. I don't think there's anything more important that we can invest in than our families and children and making sure it's not a vote for Mountain View's future in 2, 5, 10 years. We're looking at future generations 30, 40, 50 years from now. That being said, I've worked with a coalition of trustees. This is what I do. I find a problem and I go after it with a group of people. I've worked with a coalition of trustees across the county. We've been talking to the Office of Supportive Housing, visiting shelters. I've been out to the the Move Mountain View site, the safe parking site at Shoreline. And we're trying to find shelter spaces. They are creating new shelter spaces for families in particular, but it's going to take continued advocacy and activism on the part of our city to build those partnerships and also get funding for it.
Thank you very much. We have one more. Do we have time still, Alex, or we're running out? It's 7:07 now.
We're over time, but we have candidates who have time left.
Shall we? Well, let's ask the question. The next one is one back, right? That would be the revenue measure.
We can do
We've
revenue
talked
measure
about
or climate
that.
change.
Did
Henry?
we do that?
Yeah. Hi, folks. I'm Henry. I live in the Moffett Mobile Home Park. Climate change is here. Everybody knows it. It's going to get worse. Locally, we're dealing like with everybody else. Fortunately, a lot less than other areas, but with rising temperatures, wildfires, we get the smoke and sea level. We see the impacts of sea level rise in North Bayshore. Large scale mitigation efforts are required if we're to protect the future of Mountain View. So the question really is, what do you think Mountain View should do to address the threat of climate change? And I want to add, do you feel is your position that Mountain View can move the needle in any significant way, or are there specific
Henry,
things?
no adding.
Okay, no adding. Sorry. Okay. That's the question.
All right, Jose?
Yes. Hey, I'm going to be honest with you. I think we're screwed. I think we waited too long to do much change. I think we're doing what we can as patchwork. And at this point in time, it's all hands on deck. Everything that we're doing right now for sustainability, if we're just trying to make the environment as clean as possible at the city level, also has to be done at the county level, at the state level, at the federal level. And unfortunately, at the higher level, the federal level, there's a lot of politics involved. So what we can do locally is the most important thing that we can do, and regionally, we have to look at it from that perspective, partner up, keep going with that fight to fight everything. And again, resources are limited. So besides me just saying that, I'm not saying it's hopeless, but what I am saying is that we really have to sit down and look at this at the city level and figure out exactly what works, what doesn't, what we can improve on, and where we can get the help. Because no matter how you look at it, it's going to be hot. There's going to be fires, and there's going to be an increase in water levels, and it's not looking good at all.
We can absolutely move the needle on sea level rise and water. Sea level rise, we have the plans. We just need to implement them. And on water, recycled water, we can help move the needle.
All right, we're getting close. Nicholas.
We need to focus on climate resilience and climate adaptation. Climate resilience means having a strong public works department that can respond to severe winter storms and emergency weather shelters. And we can fight climate change by working with the Army Corps of Engineers on sea level rise, as well as electrifying our transportation sector, which produces 60% of our emissions.
There are two groups that are the most vulnerable to climate change: children and seniors. In our school district, I spearheaded a sustainability initiative where we are trying to address heat incidents and rising temperatures in our outdoor spaces. So we are greening the campuses, we're adding more permeable surfaces. We're in the design phase right now, and those spaces are park spaces for the public outside of school hours. I think we need to be doing the same things when we talk about green complete streets. We need to make it safer to be able to navigate our community during these heat issues, and climate resiliency and adaptation is the way to go.
You got so much time left.
Great. I can barely see it, by the way. That's an issue I have with this. How much time do I have?
Minute 40.
Excellent. To answer the question, can anything be done? Should anything be done at a municipal level? The answer is yes. This is a hill I'll die on. We have a moral imperative to our children who in 50 years will be suffering incredible heat effects, sustained droughts, electrical grid issues, and more if we don't do something to start mitigating at a local level. The people who sit in a panel like this 50 years from now talking about what city council should do about climate will look back at the actions we take today and judge what we're doing. And we need to do everything we can to end our reliance on fossil fuels. We need to do it now. The city has a plan to be carbon neutral in 2045. It honestly needs to be sooner. 2035 is too late, but we need to push for that now. And there are ways we can do that to electrify. We know how to do it. We have the technology. It provides jobs. It makes homes safer and cleaner. And in terms of mitigation, absolutely, we have to leave a better future. Salt pond restoration, recycled water, those are all things that are expensive and important, but we need to do things that are more simple as well, like planting more trees, and greening our environment, and using building materials that help, and even just zoning standards that have more shade, that are not necessarily that expensive, but will go a long way to creating a future we can all live in better and feel better about when we leave it behind for others.
All right, Erik.
Thank you. I think really quickly, I believe that we need to, this isn't just a city issue, this is a whole worldwide issue. And I think we need to collaborate with the city and state on joint funding initiatives in order to be able to address this in a much more timely manner than the time we have allotted. Thank you.
All right. So for those of you who have time left, let's jump to the closing statements. Jose.
Sorry about that. My phone, man, I'm telling you. Okay, look, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to spend and listening to our ideas and suggestions and us trying to answer your questions as best as we can. I think it's neat choice. I think we have choices to make. I'd like to have new voices at City Council, especially those that are part of underrepresented neighborhoods. We made a difference before, we can make a difference again. But it takes a community to be able to solve these issues. We need to agree to disagree and move forward. And I think that's the skill set that I provide. I'm not afraid to speak up on the issues that we talk about now. I want to do the right thing.
All right. Devon.
Thank you for having me here tonight.
And Nicholas?
Vote Nicholas Hargis for Mountain View City Council. Thank you very much, everyone.
And IdaRose?
I'd like to thank everybody here. The electoral process isn't just about electing candidates. It's about giving voice to the people in our community, sharing ideas in ways we don't often get to do. And I think this is powerful. It's been a powerful experience for me. Please reach out to me if you want to talk about any issues. www.IdaRose Sylvester.
Oh, a very inopportune timeout. But yes, we can send information about the various campaigns to people who registered for. Oh, thank you everyone for playing along. This has been a lot of fun. Hopefully, not just for me. Here, let's get them all in there.
Okay.
So yeah, thank you on behalf of all the Mobile Home Alliance and the community members who attended tonight. We will share the information about the event, and anyone who wasn't able to watch it live, it will be on the Mobile Home Alliance YouTube channel. So I'm sure you'll be able to find the link somewhere. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye.
You.
Have a good one.
And also, oh yeah, thank you very much to our interpreters, and sorry for my inability to slow down.
Thank you all very much. Good night.
Night.
Good night, everyone.